JJ the CPA here. Just finished a great meeting with a law firm client of mine and thought I would share a few thoughts as it relates to estate tax planning. And I know under the new tax law there's basically about a $10 million per individual exemption, meaning if your estate's less than 10 million, and it's actually a little bit more than that because it's adjusted for inflation each year. But if it's less than 10 million, you don't have any kind of a taxable estate. So a lot of us are probably thinking, well, I don't know that I have that. But the one thing to keep in mind is that an estate does include not just your assets that you own, but it also includes life insurance, whether it's term or whole life insurance. So you want to keep that in mind. The other aspect to think through is that even though there's that $10 million exemption, it's actually higher than that, like I just said. But you know, in 2017 and prior years, in recent times, it was only $5 million. So depending on the temperature of Congress, that can go up and down. So you still want to do any kind of tax planning. And then the other big thing when you're looking at estate planning is really then, even if you're not going to have a taxable estate, take a look if you want to make sure that the assets are going where it is that you want. And then depending on state laws, if you don't have a will, then sometimes the state is going to determine who it is that's getting your assets. Some states may be that half of the assets go to the spouse and then the other half of the assets go to the other heirs, meaning the kids. So if you want to remain control even from the grave, so to speak, of what's going to happen to your assets, then having a will take care of that. If you don't have a will and for some reason you just feel like you don't need one, there are some other key things to take a look at, which is just who's going to be a guardian if you've got kiddos that are minors. So putting together basically a memorandum of if something happens to me, here's who it is that I want to take care of my clients, and or if you've got assets, by just doing simple memorandum of what's then going to follow those kiddos assets wise and income wise. That's really where a will would come in wonderfully handy so that your kids are taken care of. But when it comes to who the guardian is, same thing. The state's going to make some determinations if you're silent on it. The other aspect to take a look at is having an advance medical directive, or sometimes called a medical will, depending on the state that you're in. And this is going to then indicate what happens if you're in a situation where some medical decisions have to be made in terms of whether you're going to live or die, or if you're on life support, are you going to be in a situation where they're going to feed and water you, kind of a thing. So having one of those is key, and then also having a power of attorney on file. Depending on what the state that you're in, it could be a different title, but durable power of attorney. But what that means is that if you're not able to make decisions for yourself as it relates to your financial situation, then this would be something that's kicked into play that allows someone to make some decisions on your behalf as it relates to, maybe paying current expenses, while you're in a coma or while you're incapacitated for a period of time. And it's important to note that, even a spouse would want that on the other spouse. So even if you have a joint bank account, and obviously you can make decisions on that to pay bills, but if you've got one spouse that owns a business and the other has no ownership in that business without a power of attorney, in the event that something happens, you're not able to have potentially that spouse at least just take care of things even in the short term. So power of attorney is what comes into play while you're alive. Same thing with an advanced medical directive or medical will. And then your will, your estate plan, etc., is then what comes into play after you pass away. Altogether, you want to get with an attorney to get that done. It's not really something you'd want to do yourself, just the same as that you wouldn't want to drill and fill your own cavity. You'd want to go to, an expert, a dentist. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. And if you like my video, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to this channel. And then don't forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me.
Get the